Go right ahead, Reverend Gaston. Whenever you're ready, kind sir, we're ready to rock and roll.
Fantastic. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Writers Workshop. Always glad to have you as a viewer to this program here on The Voice, 17104 Harrisburg. And again, my name is Nathaniel Gadsden, and I'm the founder and director of the Writers Workshop. Hey, this past Sunday, we had an excellent program. We had a wonderful time down at the State Museum of Pennsylvania. And it was really off the chart. Now the turnout in the studio wasn't in the audience wasn't really good at all. But I will tell you that online we had a wonderful response to the program because we had it on Facebook Live thanks to Nicole Wilkerson, and she put it out there. And boy, the last time I looked, we were up to over like 600 views or something like that. And I see that as a win. And so hey, thank you, any and everybody who took time to check out the program. I especially want to thank the persons who participated. Lee Wykowski and Studio Solomon, they did a fantastic job. And they, brought it home with their drumming and also storytelling. And, Dr. Felicia Brown Hayward and Sister Cheryl Hawkins, they combined to put on a fantastic, Cheryl was playing the piano as she does so well. And of course, Dr. Felicia Brown Hayward was singing. And they did some spirituals and just fantastic, really well done. And then all of the various speakers. Hey, there's Ro. Hey, okay. Ro, how you doing? Yay, good to see you. Absolutely. And Ro, Brady's on tonight. Let me get this here off of here. I want to go to the thing. Ro, it's so good to see you. We just talked earlier today, and it was good catching up with you. Let me see here. I'm trying to get to my page. All right. Yeah, I was trying to remember all the people that participated. I don't want to leave anybody out on Sunday. And we had, like I said, a wonderful program. And I was really proud of all the folks who, took time to say, okay, here's what the lineup was. We had Studio Solomon. That's Lee Wykowski. We know her. A lot of us know her as Karen Wysowski. We had a reading and then a poetry performed by Carmen Henry Harris. And wasn't she excellent? She read a book on Ruby Bridges, the civil rights pioneer who, integrated one of the schools in the South there. Dr. Felicia Brown Hayward in performance, and, she's always good. What a powerful singer she is and a powerful personality. And she was accompanied by Hawkins. And Cheryl Hawkins just is excellent pianist. And then we had Wendy No Cherry Onye, who did a poem, just an excellent poem. She's one of the premier poets in this area. We also had a reading by Zippy. We call her story. She is the Reverend. She goes by Reverend Zippy. She's from Kenya. And she did an excellent job of talking about her book, which is I Slept on Sax. And she was there to, tell us a part of her story. We also had a very special guest, and Samet George. Samet George, you've seen her all over the place. She has commercials on TV all over the place, talking about her being a survivor of cancer. And then she's been on all of the various magazines, the wonderful ad that they've had. She has an excellent book out called Few Are Chosen. And the book can be found, I know, in the hospitals and the, little stores that they have, gift shops of the hospitals, and I'd imagine in all the bookstores too. But it is a powerful read, by the way. And so she came out and, did an excellent job for us. And then we had, again, open poetry reading. I want to thank Dr. Dan Snowden for coming down and reading. And he, did a great job as always. And I'm trying to think if there's anyone else I left out. Oh, yes, my sister, Deborah Letterlow. She was there. And she talked about, in fact, she was our special guest a couple of weeks ago in the program. She talked about the men of Triumph out of the prison that's in, I think it's outside of Reading, Pennsylvania. Those men are mostly lifers and long life sentences, and they have decided to form a group. It's like 190 of them. And that group raises funds, and they then fund organizations here in the community. And they've been doing it for years, and they've probably raised close to $100,000 at this point and giving it out to organizations that are doing great work. And so Deborah got up and talked about, that work that's being done. And I'm probably missing somebody. And if I am, tax it to my head and not my heart. But everyone who participated was absolutely excellent. Oh, there was a sister there, a guider. I have her book here somewhere. Okay. And I'll come for a full name. But anyhow, she is a psychologist, and she has a journal out. And also she has a thriving practice working with people on the individual issues. And she was able to get up and speak as well. And thanks to Dr. Felicia Brown Hayward, she had been invited, came out, and she was really, really good as well. So then we had a good time. And I want to give hats off to both the State Museum, because we were actually scheduled to be there this coming, Sunday. And I blew it. I forgot that we had to make that little adjustment, because we always do the third Sunday of the month. But they told me that there was going to be a special program there. And so we got prepared, went down, put out our flyers, everything for the 15th, got down there, and they're like, oh, we're not ready for you because, and then it turns out where their program had been canceled. And so they were able to make the adjustment and everything went off smoothly, no problems with serving. If you want to see the program, you can go to Facebook, either to Nicole Wilkerson's page or my page, Nathaniel Gadsden. And I'm sure there's others who have shared it down at this time too, but you can see the full broadcast by going to Facebook and checking it out. I've asked Brother Chris Thomas, who's the owner of this station, to, if he can, pull up some excerpts from it throughout the program tonight. And hopefully we'll get a chance to experience a little bit of what took place there on this past Sunday. Ro, it's so good to see you, sis. How you doing?
Doing well.
All right.
Yeah,
I love
missed
that
you.
background. I wish I knew how to do those backgrounds. Cool.
It's a book that I'm facilitating for our church. I forgot it was up there.
Oh, wow. Okay. You say you're facilitating for the church, huh?
Yeah, it's a women's discipleship class.
Okay.
Yeah, I had that up there. I'm changing my background.
Now, when you say your church, are you still connected to Dayspring?
Yeah, I just go virtually now.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. All right. Good. Yeah, we just I just got a chance to sit with Pastor Ash last Saturday. We had a men's breakfast, and almost half of Dayspring, I'm sure, was there. But Derek James, it was his baby. He put that together. He now has his own church. And it was a big turnout for his men's prayer breakfast. And it was good to see Pastor Ash. And he brought in Danny Williams, who I think you probably have met before. And Danny and I went to college together, and then also crossed the burning sands of Alpha Phi Alpha together. And it was great seeing him and hearing him speak. So anyhow, good time. Tell us all about what's happening in your world.
Oh, not a lot. I've literally just been home being a full-time writer, I guess you could say.
Good. That's
Yeah,
good.
haven't
Right.
really been doing too much of anything other than that. I at this point, I have not even kept up with the local events that are happening here in Washington.
I hear you. Yeah.
I really haven't. I've just kind of been here in my own little literary world.
Well, that's not a bad thing. You because your literary world is full of a lot of magical stuff. That's a good thing. You producing. Keep it up. Whatever you do, keep it up. I do want to tell you about. Go ahead.
As you say, Theo is in his little CEO mood in the other room, and sometimes I go in there and I'll say, I gotta go. I just had a genius idea, and I leave. And he was like, "Oh no, the people are talking to you again, aren't they?"
Yeah, they're talking to you. That's a good thing. Those people are your angels. Come on, giving you those ideas. Hey, listen, we have some things coming up on the 28th, next Saturday, in fact, right? We're going to have our annual trunk or treat event. It's that trick or treat time. And so we do what's called trunk or treat. People don't even have to get out of their cars. Thank you, Brother Chris, for bringing up the flyer there. I know. Let me see what we got that flyer up. It's coming. But it's going to be a fun time. There you go. And it's from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m., which is a long time, by the way. Anyhow, but it's going to be a real nice time. It's out there on Dairy Street. In fact, it says 7967 Dairy. It's the Dollar General parking lot. And, all you got to do is drive up, and we have all kinds of candies that we'll be giving out and different organizations that will be joining us to give out candies and other things. And I really got to take my hats off to Brother James Lowes, the Reverend James Lowes, who represents his own organization called Youth 10 Times Better. And he's been doing so many fantastic things in this area for a long time. And he hooked us up with some serious candy drop off. So young people, and whoever parents, come on out. We got something for you. And I want to thank again Brother James Lowes for his contribution, and then all the others who will be there to contribute to the fund. Again, it starts at 2 p.m. next Saturday, the 28th of October, and it's at 7967 Derry Street, the Dollar General. And, we would say be there, be square. Hey, November the 4th, we're going to be down at Penn State, Harrisburg, and we're there with outstanding writer, Dr. Shantae James. She has written a number of books and is, in fact, working on another book along with Terry Martinez to publish it. But Shantae James is a professor at Penn State. She is a lawyer, and she's also a PhD, and she has a best-selling book out called Murder, and has something to do with a college campus. And so she is sponsoring us in a full retreat Saturday, what is that? November the 4th, Saturday, November the 4th. And we'll be there at Penn State, Harrisburg. And it's free and open as far as I know. And starts at 9, I believe, and we'll go up until about 5 in the afternoon with this writer's retreat. And we're looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And she is really, really good. And then also on November the 9th, we're going to be at the Forum, the big old Forum building downtown Harrisburg here. And we're working in conjunction with the Police Athletic League, PAL, and Dr. Charles Stewart, who's the executive director there. And we have a contest for young writers, middle school and high school, to write a poem on the theme of the good that I see in my community. And we're not, putting any restrictions. That's, no length and all that kind of stuff. That whatever they decide to write is called a poetry and spoken word competition. The middle school students will compete against one another on their level. And the first place prize is $500. Second place, $250, and the third place, $100. But every student that submits a poem will receive a certificate from the Peace Athletic League and the Writers Wordshop. And also, we have, Kwanzaa coming up, and that's going to take place on December the 9th. December the 9th, which is a Saturday. And we're hoping to have that at the Harrisburg High School Gymnasium like we did last year. We just got to get the final full approval of that. But it was off the chart last year. We had a great time. And so we hope that you'll come out. And then on December the 17th, we have an outstanding event where we're honoring some women from the Harrisburg area here who are outstanding in the arts of one way, shape, or form. And, 5 women will be honored. And then we have an outstanding presenter that's coming in. Sister, and I'm going to mess up her full name. I don't have the flyer in front of me. Let me see if I can pull it up. But anyhow, she is an outstanding artist who is doing great work. In fact, let me see if I can find it real quick. And she will be here from Virginia, and she will be presenting her work and also talking about African art and African American art in general. You don't want to miss her. She's a PhD. She is an outstanding speaker and artist, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So those are the things we have coming up, and there's some other stuff in between. Of course, we always have the Friday night. There's another thing we're going to do. That's right. So in December, on December the 1st and the 8th, and we'll probably extend that then to even the 15th or so, we're going to do 100 poets reading again. And each poet gets 5 minutes. And with those 5 minutes, you can read one poem, you can read 20 poems, but it's strictly 5 minutes. And it's December the 1st. It'll be right here on the Writers Workshop, right here on The Voice, 17104 Harrisburg, 17104.com. And then on the 8th, the same thing. We might even extend it again to the 15th, I think that would be. And so anyhow, those Fridays will be, hopefully we're going to try to get as many poets from around the country, if you will, to come on and participate in the 100 poets reading, and just, starring out, just having a lot of fun with that. So that's what's happening so far with the Writers Workshop. A lot of stuff And we'll make sure that when the newsletter comes out, don't forget, we have a newsletter that comes out in the beginning of the month. And the newsletter is called the Writers Workshop. I'll say newsletter, magazine. I keep saying that newsletter. It's a magazine, the Writers Workshop magazine. And all of these things should be listed in there. And if not this month, they will be listed for the month of December. In fact, November's issue should be out within the first or second day of November. And then, we'll start working on December's issue. Thank you, Sarita Henderson, who does a great job of putting our magazine together. And if you would like to ever submit to the magazine, please feel free to do so. All you have to do is send it to Writers Wordshop online. Let me see, am I saying it right? Writers Wordshop magazine online. Okay, I gotta look it up real quick. But anyhow, and it's real simple. It's like Writers Wordshop online at gmail.com. Am I saying that right? There's a magazine online at gmail.com. I'm blowing it myself here. Okay, let me see here. And generally we want stuff in by around the 15th of the month, but we always go to about the 20th, and then we can, put it to bed that way. Let me see if I can find Sarita's email here. But yeah,
Writers Wordshop online at gmail.com.
That's it. Writers Wordshop online at gmail.com. All one word, right? You don't have to separate it out. Writers Wordshop online at gmail.com. Thank you, Ro. Okay. All right. So, Ro, you have a business, and there are a number of people who are writers who need your business. Tell us about what your business is.
It is. It's going very well. Relocating here to Washington, I kept trying to find something, and God said, you already have something, just pull it together and do it. So I started Clean Page Editing. It is my own little version of how do I want to be able to assist indie authors in producing a quality work that they can not only promote, but is the essence of their personalities. So I'm working with several people on ghostwriting. I am also doing some developmental editing and, your line and your proofreading. So I really am enjoying it. It still gives me the opportunity to write and to be creative and to be able to help somebody else get their words out.
In full disclosure, I am a client. I say that very proudly. So if you want to know, yes, I am a client. And I hope that others will follow in my footsteps because Ro is really good and she is a blessing. And so, if you really are interested in being a top-notch writer and making sure that it comes out clean, because a lot of times I was listening to a program with some of the top writers in the country, and I forget her name, the one, who was it? I know Bell Hooks was on before she passed. And a couple of anyhow, they were talking about so many authors, and you used the phrase indie writer. And so for people that don't know, that's an independent author, right? So they said so many of them are just jumping on Facebook and they're just throwing stuff out there. And then they see these mistakes, it's not well written, blah, blah, blah. And they said, we got to be careful about that. So that's always been a real bugaboo of mine too. I'm thinking, maybe I should have did this, maybe I should have did that. And then along comes Ro, and just like you said, God spoke to you, he spoke to me and said, wait a minute, she's sitting right there in front of you. And then once you said it, immediately it resonated with me. So I really do hope that, you will be inundated, you'll be flooded, and you'll say, okay, I can't take any more clients this time because,
From your mouth to God's ear.
There you go. I'm telling you now, that's the way it should be. And it's happening for a lot of people. One author we had this past Sunday, she said to me, I opened up my, counseling service. She said, and I was thinking, okay, I'll do this. She said, I got flooded. She said, I was shocked at, and she's doing it strictly online. She does it not in person, but what she called it? I forget what she called it, but anyhow, teletherapy, I guess, something like that. It just took off. And that's what I envision for you, just taking off.
Well, thank you. I totally accept.
Yeah, right. Fantastic. Good. Yeah. So, there are a lot of things that are taking place that I would like to see us duplicate here in the Burg as well. Let me stop for a minute. Hats off to Floyd Stokes. Twice now, and I've heard Floyd in the past month. He spoke at what's her name? Karen Love's mother, Hattie Love, passed. And so they have a foundation called the Love, was it Educational Love Fund or Love Fund, something like that. Anyhow, we all had, we got there, had a nice event and everything. And then Floyd was one of the persons asked to get up and speak. And he got up and, and there were a number of different speakers. But I tell you, he just really nailed it. He had little visuals that he showed, and he just did to chronicle her life in just a short little presentation showing pictures that we could all relate to that spoke of her spirit. And we all looked at each other and was like, that was really good. And, and it really was. I mean, I thought, man, that was just so well put together. And then this past Saturday, he spoke at the NAACP's Freedom Fund dinner. He was honored with one of the, I think the President's Award for NAACP. And so he got up and then he said, well, they said, say a few words. And just off the top of his head, I don't know if he had already planned it or not, but he broke down a little bit about how he grew up in the South and coming out of Mississippi and different things, and why he was inspiring to write and to read and all that. Just so well done. And he's apparently the program was taped and was on PCN, or is on PCN, and they show it from time to time. I didn't see PCN there, but they were there. And a guy said to me this morning, we had our men's prayer breakfast, and he said, oh, I saw this piece. He said, it was really good. Boy, he said, that's my first time hearing Floyd Stokes speak. He said, that was riveting. He was really good. So hats off to Floyd, who is an outstanding author. He's written a number of children's books. He is someone who's really pushed literacy throughout this country, not just here in Harrisburg, but he's touched all 50 states. He has the 500 Men Reading. He does also 365 reading program with his daughters and other community leaders. And when George Floyd and all that broke, he had some outstanding events where he talked about, police brutality and all that stuff. So, man, brother, Floyd Stokes, keep on doing what you're doing. He created the American Literacy Corporation, and he's brought in some outstanding speakers from, Nikki Giovanni. Man, I can't even think of all of them, but he's brought in some outstanding speakers over the years. So, I just wanted to lift him up and say, thank you, brother, for what you do right here in Harrisburg. Okay, good stuff. Anyhow, what's the latest novel that you're working, Ro? You're now the editor of Black Wall Street.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, you and I have been writing for them for what now? For like 2 years?
Maybe 3.
Yeah, maybe. It's been a while. Well, Jenny Dallas, she has started another magazine. It's from the Hispanic Americans viewpoint. And she said it's a lot for her. So she had asked me, and Charisse, I might not be saying her name right, Charisse Powell, to edit. I was rather excited. It gives me an opportunity to still be connected to the Harrisburg community. Today we've just kind of like had I always call it brain vomit of all the ideas that we would like to do. They're doing it online. They're doing it every 2 months. So we're working on October, November, and we've already started for December, January. And I just think it's such a great opportunity to keep in touch with the Harrisburg community, and to be a resource, because I just submitted an article for the homeless. They're still out there, and what we should be really thinking about as a community of what we can still do for them. And this article is just a list of resources, but it's looking at the resources that are now available in Lancaster, Harrisburg, and York.
Down in Philadelphia years ago, I don't know if they still do it, but years ago, they had a magazine. It was more like a newspaper kind of thing. And it was thick, though. I was really impressed with it. And here it was, the only authors in that publication were homeless people. And so they went out and just found people that were in shelters, whatever, and they had to write the articles. And these guys really were contributing, men and women, to this piece. and talking about what they were going through or talking about something that's happening in the community. I thought that was powerful. And they were proudly doing it. They didn't mind having their pictures in there and all that stuff and talking about what's going on. So, that's probably something that could be duplicated in other cities. I saw an expose on documentary, whatever you want to call it, on Los Angeles. And then also they talked about Atlanta and some other places where the homeless population, Chicago, oh my God, is just out of control. And they literally had these tent cities now. And the question is, the one lady they interviewed from Los Angeles, she was, let's say, 28 years old, something like that. And she literally was born on the streets in a tent. And now she's 28 and she's never lived any place else except in that, whatever they call that skid row, they call it, or something like that. And now she's always one of the people that goes around helping other people as well. But she's lived there every single day of her life. Think about that.
Wow.
On the streets of Los Angeles. Yeah. Yeah.
Now I see a lot of the homeless here in Washington. Just like with mental health issues. I was walking to the museum, looking at my phone, trying to make sure I was going in the right direction. And I saw this lady coming from the opposite end of the street. She had on a gray dress, but you look at somebody, you don't really pay attention. You just keep walking. It was closer she got to me. Then I noticed like her hair was uncombed. It's standing on top of her head. And her dress had like dirt all over the front of it. And she didn't have any shoes on. And she came at me and she, like this derogatory thing she said to me, it frightened me, and I like started like going up the street and I looked and I was like, okay, just don't make eye contact. Just don't look back. Cause I didn't know, and it's frightening because you never know, somebody with an obvious mental health issue, what they're capable of, and my thought was, how is she getting help? Like, I left not, after I realized I was okay and I'd gotten, a distance away. But my thought was, where is she getting help from? Like, is she a danger to herself?
Yeah.
Where's she going?
Yes.
Yeah, like those were all the questions I asked myself. Where is she going? She had no shoes on, she was filthy. And there was an obvious mental health issue. Like, where's she going? Is anybody reaching out to help her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you see it everywhere. I was in DC a little while back now, and I went into a store. I stopped at the gas station to get some gas there. And it's almost like they just almost attack you. They just came out of nowhere. And, do you have $1? You have this and that kind of thing. And so before I could even say anything, this guy kind of came out the store. Hey, get away. He was trying to shoot him away. And they stepped away for like a minute. But then they were right back there, And so I went into the store, did what I had to do, came out to get the gas, and they just came right back up to me, And here comes the guy again. And he said, I told you, stop bothering my customers and all that kind of stuff. But they were everywhere, And if I stood there and poured out $1, I'd have been inundated. You know what I mean? It happened here in Harrisburg. I was downtown here in Harrisburg, and there was about 5 or 6 guys waiting outside of the ATM of the First National Bank, and they would wait for people to go in and come out there extra for money. And the one guy, I knew him, and so he said, "Hey, Reverend Gas, how you doing?" He said, "Do you have such and such?" And I went in and I came back out and said, "Hey, man." But then all the guys came up. I said, whoa, excuse me, and it was a lot of them. And the one guy said to me, said, you ought to tell the guys over at Bethesda Mission, these guys are doing this way too much. He said, it's not good, and people don't like this. And I said, brothers, now wait a minute. I said, you expect me to stand here and give all of you what, come on now, And so you want to help, but it's just like, no, that herd mentality, it was really kind of, and unfortunately, you want to help, and sometimes the help that you give is better than just that $1 that you have. Giving them information about where to go, getting a job, all that kind of stuff. They don't have time for that sometimes. They just, okay, yeah. All I want right now is that $1 for that coffee. And I wish it was coffee.
That's true. And it's sometimes like I've heard people say, I will bring you back McDonald's. Because if I give you money, we don't know what you're going to do with it. You know,
Mhm.
I remember Theo and I were coming back from the White House, and there was an older gentleman who was just sitting there, and it was a hot day. It was in the 90s here. And while we were there, they were just giving us bottles of water. And as we were leaving, I already had a bottle of water in my bag, and the
Mhm.
girl hands me two more bottles of water. So I just threw them. I carried this big bag. I just threw them in the bag and said, thank you. So as we're walking down the street, there was a guy just sitting there, and he just looked so parched. And I just reached in and I said, here, sir, here's a bottle of water. And he was just so grateful for a bottle of water, like,
Yeah.
here's water. I mean, sometimes you're kind of iffy. And my son and I were going to Chinatown, and we were going into a restaurant, and there was a guy who stopped him and asked him if he had like $3 because he had missed the train. Like,
Mhm.
he really looked homeless, was very clean, had on like fairly, new clothes. And he said, I'm not homeless. I really have just missed a train. And I thought I threw my wallet in my backpack, but I didn't.
Mhm.
And my son didn't have any money. So he looks at me and says, Mom, can you give this guy $3? I'm like, okay, I will.
Mhm.
So we even encountered that here on the streets of Washington, but the
Mhm.
mental health thing, that's scary because
Yeah.
it took me back, because she kind of like lunged at me.
Yeah. Well, all around the country, in 2023 here, we had a number of incidents where homeless people have attacked folks, because of in mental health. And they showed just recently where one of the guys who did it, I guess was this year or last part of 2022, and he went on the subway train and just started stabbing people. And you saw people running out of the train. Well, anyhow, they just I think took him to trial or whatever. I don't know what he got, but yeah, it's horrific. He said he was just kind of talking to himself, and then all of a sudden he just started stabbing. And you're in a subway train, and the train's moving. Where do you go? So people are running
Yeah.
up and down. Once the thing stopped, they come flying out of there, and he was just out of control. And also homeless people have been attacked. There are a lot of people who have been set on fire and beaten up and everything else simply because they're homeless and living on the street.
Mhm.
Um, it's really a bad situation, and it's not getting any better. It really isn't. And in urban America in particular, they say that there's this. You go downtown. We were in downtown Cincinnati with AXO, and I couldn't believe the number of people I saw standing on the corners with signs and all that kind of stuff. And they said, well, actually, it's a coordinated effort now. And they've gotten together, and they really do it and they're really trying to stop it out there.
Mhm.
And then after a while, I was like, okay, how do we manage this thing? So they started pushing them out of the city, and they see them more on the highways now, which poses another problem, getting hit by a car, you know? And
Yeah,
so,
we have them outside of our apartment every morning. Like, we have floor to ceiling windows. And there is a guy I can see every morning who stands right on the yellow line,
mhm,
the Massachusetts Avenue, with
mhm.
a sign every single morning. And I'm usually up sitting here by 6:30, quarter to 7. And he's there every morning like clockwork.
Like clockwork. And I'm beginning to see that here, even here in Harrisburg, where down on Front Street, there's a guy, and there's more than just one guy, there's a number of people, and they're dotted all over the place. And even down on McClay Street, off of, what is that, Cameron and McClay, down by the farm show,
Mhm.
almost, every 3, 4 times a week at least, you'll see people on the various corners. And it's just amazing, and you wonder, I mean, you definitely want to help people, and that's no question about that. And at the same time, you can only help us so much. And then also, when you actually offer them up some serious, information about, hey, let's go here, but they don't want to do that. They just want what they want, and
Mhm.
that's why you got to be careful how you interact with them and stuff. Yeah, you never know, But as writers, we see them. So the question becomes, how do we address that through our poetry, through our oratory, through our novels, and how do we bring a great awareness to it? Yeah, it's something we have to think about.
Since I've been here in Washington, I think I have written at least 3 or 4 poems about what I've seen on the streets.
Okay,
And
that's good. That's good. And because that, if DC's not an inspiration for you, come on now, because I know you see a whole lot down there, man. Oh man, wow, that's something else. Contrast for us DC and Harrisburg in terms of the movement, the pace, the people's relational, people, how
Oh,
they interact with
it's
food.
it's the culture here is very different. I say it's a miniature New York as far as, the whole, I don't know anybody here. The only two people that I know are the two people that work for Theo.
Mhm.
I don't know anybody else here.
Right.
Getting on the elevator to go even to the lobby or out of the building,
Mhm.
it's a whole different. I remember being in Harrisburg and going to the supermarket, and I was making a recipe off of Pinterest, and I'm looking
Mhm.
at the ingredients list on my phone. I go down the aisle and there's another woman there who's also making a recipe off of Pinterest. And automatically she stops because we're looking at her phone and we're in the same aisle. And she says to me, "What are you making?" Like off the bat, like, and and I show her this complete stranger my phone. I'm making this, and there we are, shoulder to shoulder. And I'm going, and I said, "What are you making?" And she shows me hers. I was like, "Oh, that looks good." And I said, "That looks good too." And
Mhm.
it's this dialogue I had with a complete stranger. Now
Yeah.
compare that to what happens in Washington. I'm getting on the elevator. So you know how the elevator door opens and you kind of stand to one side to let the person out? Well,
Mhm.
I'm standing there and this woman literally comes flying out of the elevator and she's turning to where I'm standing at and almost knocks into me. So I step back, but as I step back, I say to her, "Good morning." And
Mhm.
she looks at me as though it's my fault. That she
Yeah.
almost runs into me and she gives me this look like, "How dare you speak to me?"
Mm.
I said, "Oh, wow." So I get on the elevator. But you know what? One of the other classes that I facilitated for our church, it was called Blessing. And
Mm.
our pastor encouraged us to figure out ways that you could bless neighbors, your neighbors.
Mhm.
At first, it was like, I don't have any, I have neighbors, but I don't know. I have no idea who lives in the apartment next to me.
Yeah.
It was a real challenge. So, what I decided to do, and I thought about these encounters that I was having with people in the elevator. I
Mhm.
decided once I got on the elevator, I would say this simple prayer. The prayer is, "Lord, provide this person with your spirit, put a hedge of protection around them, keep them, allow them to have a day full of your blessings." So I would say this prayer every time I get on the elevator.
Yeah.
And it has really, really changed my outlook of how I see people
Mhm.
getting
Mhm.
on the elevator. Some of them say hello, but I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday. And this is the power, this is a testimony of the power of prayer.
Mhm.
Theo and I were going to the grocery store. We got on the elevator and he was wearing his Golden State Warriors hat. And this woman
Yeah.
engaged him in this conversation about how much she loved the team, and she was from California, and the two of them are talking about California and San
Yeah.
Francisco and all this stuff that had to do with California. And then we get off the elevator together and we're going out the building on the same floor. And she says, "Have a great day." And then I say, "Have a great day." And she says, "Yes, it's going to be a great day. It's mommy's day. I don't have the kids today." It it was one of those conversations that made me feel like the conversation I had with the woman with the Pinterest, it was that casual. And that's the
Yeah.
first time, and we've been here since June, that I've had that kind of conversation. I
Yeah.
mean, literally, you just don't, you get on the elevator and you busy yourself by looking at your phone so you don't make contact, or you seem like you're so busy that you can't say hello. And
Yeah.
that's what I was not used to.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
'cause my daughter always says, "You talk to complete strangers." I was like, "Yeah, I do." In Harrisburg.
Yeah. Yes, that's real, and that's the thing that oftentimes we tend to forget. People, we have cultures, and cultures are not the same. I mean, and people can be very territorial, they can be very open and welcoming, all kinds of different ways. But you have to figure out what culture are you currently in, and can you adapt to it. I always think about this one person, and I've mentioned this a million times, but they chronicled her on 60 Minutes, and she was a nun. And so she moved from wherever to a what do you want to call it? I guess they call it not convent. They call them convent still. I don't know. But anyhow, in D.C., she was in Washington D.C., but it was an all-white congregation. All right, she's African American, and she's very, very sort of evangelical. I mean, she's singing and this and that, And they were unused to that. They were just sort of like, what is she about? And so she brings the spirit into their culture. And next thing you know, she's actually created a sort of a gospel choir. And they, found her to be quite infectious, and she made a name for herself in DC. She was really going around and doing her stuff. But again, she was introducing the African American culture to this entire white congregation. And so she became noted. But then she got sick and she died of cancer. But before she died, she kept singing and this and that. And she chronicled almost everything she did in terms of her life and why she continued to love the Lord and she praised God and everything. So when 60 Minutes did this piece on her, they talked about how she was such a blessing and how she had these words of wisdom that she would give. And people really come from far and wide just to kind of be in her presence because, here she was obviously dying, but at the same time, she was so bubbly and kept the same spirit that brought her to them. And then they really celebrated her. The congregation really rallied. And so I remember thinking, boy, what a story, just an outstanding story. And it also made you think, wow, what's it going to be like when your time comes, when you know that you're dying and this kind of thing. Could you still praise God and, this kind of thing? And so I don't know if anyone's ever written a book about her, and I thought there has to be someone's written a book about her life. I can't even think of her name at this point. But one day I'm going to look that up because someone had to chronicle that. Someone had to write that down and talk about that kind of spirit. But and she changed the culture. That doesn't happen oftentimes. Sometimes people say, why is this person so odd? Yeah, she changed the culture. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm. That sounds like a title of that story. She changed the culture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But most times, I couldn't do that. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to go in and change the culture or anything like that. But some people just had that kind of infectious, spirit or whatever, and it's just, But she also understood who they were. That's the other thing I want to point out. She understood who they were, and then she challenged them, to be different. And some of them first didn't want to do that. Honestly, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like everybody just embraced her. They didn't. But
I think about one other experience I had on the elevator because I always say, and I've said this to you before, that I'm an eavesdropper. I get some of my best stories that way. Well, they had earlier this summer, they had a roof party. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the roof on this building is gorgeous. They have it set up in these little stations with really nice furniture. They've got barbecue grills. It's like a little oasis up there. So they were having this roof party, and Theo sent me some crazy. Oh, hold on.
Go ahead. It's good. All right, she'll be back. That's Ro Brady out of Washington, D.C. Ro's really here in Harrisburg, been here for years. I think she originally comes out of Pittsburgh, but she's a prolific writer in terms of her books and her poetry and all of that good stuff. So I'm glad she's here. And now she's doing a lot of editing. But Brother Chris, while we take a video break here, I don't know if you brought up anything. I know you always come up with some outstanding, videos and presentations. This might be a good time to do that right now. If you could bring one up. Okay, Poetry Slam.
Sorry. I was supposed to do another poem, but I'd rather do this poem. I swear it's not a disclaimer, but the poem may be kind of hard to follow. So it's yeah. So all right, here we go. And sorry, it's just I swear it's not a disclaimer. It's the poem is just the words, they don't always come to me like I'd like. I like to say that they're fragmented miracles muddied in their own syntax. I mean, look at it. It's kind of difficult to explain, but with each line, the definition of the piece begins to mutate as if being itself is something it never wants to inhabit. And I guess I do that too sometimes. It's probably why I don't even own a reflection in the mirror on some mornings. I kind of learned to wash myself off. So I guess this be a good time to tell you that I was born without a mouth. Poetic, right? So this poem may end up being a blank space staring out into the void, trying to decipher the nothing it always attempts to write about. Because I always end up having a veil of language hiding in the scarred flesh in the rooms of this body. I always end up having to bloom some lyrical beauty, some lyrical field of reeds with elongated webs spiraling into a Fibonacci sequence upon the page. Whatever it may be, know that the poem is a stream of thought that the pen failed to catch. Oh, that's a nice line. All right, sorry, I'm going to start the poem now. Sorry. It's just, pardon me. It's just, as a young writer, I'm always led to believe that I'm supposed to compose a dead thing out of my mouth, made of ink. Like a, it's like a body being tarred and feathered, except it's on the page, and you can usually read the blood in the mangled bone as it lifts upon our heads. And that's why I have to always say this before the piece. There will always be a body hovering above us, especially a black one. In this poem, I'm supposed to explain the pleasures of floating through the river during the daring heat of summer, but there's always a huddle of my brothers adorned in some rope and ash trailing me to where our type of skin goes to die. So every metaphor is a metaphor for the unbecoming of things, because what's a poem if it doesn't dismantle or splits, burns or cracks? So there's gonna be a couple of heads in here. Lens, Trayvon, of course, will be in here in metaphor form. So whenever you hear rock or still, think of him. Whenever you hear broken or used, think of Mike Brown. Whenever you hear dead, think of black. Because I couldn't write black because the freaking printer keeps on whiting out the black. So I guess just letting you know that every poem just sort of happens to become a will. But what do I even have to leave behind? This body? Like, crack it open and another falls out. I'm a Russian doll of the dead. So many eulogies written at the brim of my mouth. I'm gonna start the poem now.
That was actually brilliant. I gotta tell you. Man, I mean, what people come up with, that was really, 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 really good.
Yeah, it's like a poem inside a poem that was not really.
Yeah, and he's going to start the poem, and he's thinking the poem, and this, but all the time he's doing a poetic piece. This is throwing it away. Wow. I like it. Thank you, Brother Chris. That was good. That was real good. Yeah, but you were in the midst, you get ready to say something, and you got distracted.
Yeah, the doorbell rang.
Okay.
I don't even remember. Sometimes it just leaves me.
Yeah.
I was talking about the whole elevator thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think instead of telling, I wrote a poem. Let me just read the poem.
Okay. Yeah, please.
It's just called Awkward.
Yeah.
I wrote it like right after that, what I was sharing with you with the woman on the elevator.
Mm-hmm.
She said it was so awkward. Wasn't it awkward not to acknowledge my humanistic manner standing right in front of you in that tiny little box? Couldn't you feel my presence pressing in on your presence, pressing in on the universe's presence? The oppression was deep, surreal, and intensively inhuman. The weirdness of it all can cause our consciousness awareness to shut down to a point of no return. This hatred is pulling tiny bits and pieces away from what you perceive as a protective covering of sanity. It's all so blatantly insane. It's just a simple little word, not too many syllables to utter, not too much wear and tear on the cerebral cortex. It can be all done and over with in just a blink of a millisecond. It's been occurring between the races for centuries. Men and women have whispered in it in dark caverns between pursed lips. It's a feel-good kind of thing that leaves you all warm and fuzzy if done with a sweet gesture. I know you can do it. Let's give it a try. Pressure here. We who do it frequently will give those naval individuals with breathing room for their first attempt. We who do it frequently will give those novel individuals with breathing room for their first attempt. We will even applaud you on. Perhaps even a standing ovation will occur. Waiting for it. Hello.
That's really well done. I like that. I mean, think about that. There's something that's simple. Hello. That's all you got to do. But you really nailed that. That's good. Really good. When did you write that?
Like right after we got back from the store, and the lady bumped in, like literally just got off the elevator, and like literally she's close to me, and I'm going like, hello. And she like walks on and looks at me like, how dare you say hello to me?
No, how dare
like
you?
you're the one who bumped. I mean, she didn't say that, but the look on her face was like, hello? I'm like, it's okay for me to bump into you.
Yeah.
Going, and then you think you're gonna say hello to me? Like I'm gonna respond to that?
I have to smile, even over at the hospital there every now and then, and the day was no exception. There's a guy, I walk in, there's a guy sitting in the chair down the lobby, and I speak to the lady at the front desk. We always, hey, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. And he looked like he looks right at me, you know. And I looked at him and said, hey, how you doing? He just looked at me, you know, just look. They showed this film just yesterday, actually, it was Wednesday. And there's no conversation. It's just people walking on elevators, in a restaurant, whatever. And underneath each person, it has a caption. It'll say, just found out they have cancer. Just passed the bar exam. Just had their first child. And, waiting for her to deliver the first child or something like that. It's just all kinds of little things, but it's all these people. And the key is that you never know what people are thinking. You never know what's on their mind and that kind of stuff. And as a chaplain, that's what we deal with. And I remember thinking to myself, I just saw that video on Wednesday. And, sometimes, and the guy made the point of saying, sometimes people don't speak to you. Sometimes and you just wonder, what's that all about? What's on their mind? It could be they're just racist or something, who knows? But it could be something else, right? And so I go in, and then today, again, that guy, he just was that look he gave me. And it's like he's looking right at me. And I'm thinking, if you don't want to speak, why are you looking at me? And I look right at him, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? And he just, I thought, what? The other thing that hit me was, now you're in the hospital. Obviously, you didn't come here, before yourself, because you're sitting here looking like you're all healthy and everything. So you came here for a loved one. So, okay, I get it. But if I'm the guy that's going to be coming into your room as a chaplain and saying, hey, how can I help, whatever, and you're sitting down there not speaking or anything, how do you think I'm going to really feel, walking up in that room? Well, because I'm a professional, I'm going to do my job. But really, I'm a human being. I also remember, you the dude who just didn't speak to me. I don't know. One of the things I really liked was this piece they did, and I'm sure you've probably seen things like this, where this guy came in, he's extremely dismissive. His wife came in, he's going to this interview. She's going to sit out there and wait for him. And this guy comes walking in. He happens to be black. And this guy, and he's like, he looks at the guy and doesn't speak or anything. And then I forget, something happened, something fell or something like that. And he goes to pick it up, whatever. And the guy was just rude. And the bottom line was, the guy that he was rude to was the guy that was going to be his boss. He's the guy that you had to interview with, And he goes into the room and it's like, oh, like, no, bro, I know exactly who you are. And the guy, he interviewed him and everything, but it's pretty much just dismissed him. It's like, you just showed me who you really are, I don't think people think a lot of times that they don't know who you are. And you treat them that way, you may meet them down the line somewhere, So I always thought about writing a story or something where it's like that get you gotcha thing. And what always comes to my mind is In the Heat of the Night. They call me Mr. Tibbs. Remember that piece? And they didn't know he was a police officer and all that. I thought that was like, yeah.
I like the original Mr. Tibbs with Sidney Poitier.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but there has been some remakes of that, which I didn't.
Oh, yeah. Oh, big time. And they were okay too. I mean, but it was nothing.
Like the
Yeah,
first,
yeah, the
yeah.
TV program was good. That's what they did. They did a remake of
Uh-huh.
it with the guy that played Archie Bunker.
Bunker. I
Yeah,
can't
and
think of
then
the guy, Mr. Tibbs, though.
yeah, Rollins. He something
Yeah.
Rollins, and he died. He was a good actor, but he died young.
Uh-huh.
I was shocked when I heard that. But anyhow, yeah, the original one with Sydney. Oh man, perfect. And he said, "I'm gonna put." And the guy said, "Oh yeah, come on now. That's good writing. I love stuff like that. Yeah, good writing. Nice little twist." Anyhow, so let's talk to the writers that are out there tonight who are, thinking of, completing that novel. Let's talk about the process of, um, publication, and start from the process of, not only conceptualizing, the story, the whatever it is you're going to produce, then, you know, putting that bad boy to the test. In other words, sharing it and allowing others to breathe on it, getting some direction with it, editing that whole piece. Ultimately, we're going to get to publication. And how do we do that? In a short synopsis here, I know, because this could be a long, long, long conversation. But just from the very beginning, I always say to people, and this is something that's not original, a guy named Jeff, I forget his full name. He said, before anything ever starts, you have to have an idea, and then you have to write. You have to write. He said, you can't edit something you didn't write. You have to write, this whole bit. So the first thing I'll say is, and then we'll just keep going back and forth, adding to it, is write. If you're a writer, you have to write. That's the first part. What comes next?
For me, it's like, I gotta take a while to hear these people talk to me. And once I know who they are, then what I do is I create a character Bible. And for me, that's so helps. It's like, okay, I know what color, what shape their eyes are. I know mannerisms. I know what they like. I know what they're wearing, all these little things, because they're going to repeat themselves, and you build your characters from there. Like if you, I've written characters that people just hate, like in my Kindle Vella. I've had some comments from readers like, oh, that sheriff, I want to just kick him in the shins. I was like, yay. It's because I thought about, and I went back and thought about like, what characteristics would I like to see in this person that would make people love to hate him? And get inspiration from other books. And the one big piece of advice I would say is, if you want to be a writer, be a reader.
And tell us why.
Because if you're reading something, especially if you're reading the genre that you want to write in, books are formulas. Every book or every movie you've ever watched, there's a formula to it. And if you start thinking about like, okay, first of all, these characters are going to revolve around some type of situation. There's always going to be a hero's journey. What is it that your character wants? That's the formula that you need to use to write a good story. Think about the movie that you saw and you've ever compared it to another movie. Think about the book you've read and you've ever compared it to another book. The reason why you can compare them is because they use the formula.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So learn the formula to write a good story, and then just build from it. Because every book you've written, or every book movie you've watched, there's somebody else who just copies it. Remember, I'll tell you a classic one. Remember Fatal Attraction?
Oh yeah.
How many Fatal Attraction movies have been out since the original one?
A billion of them. Yes.
Yes. And Michael Douglas. That movie I think it came out in the 90s, but it was such a big hit. Some producer somewhere sat down and said, Michael Douglas, Glenn Close, Fatal Attraction. Because I know, what's her name? Beyonce did one. There was been a couple of people who did. It's the same movie.
That's a lot of them, yes.
Yes, because it was a great formula. It is a great formula. I was watching Same Time Next Year.
Okay.
I was reading, and it's an old movie. with Carol Burnett and Alan Alda, because I love old movies. I had just finished, and I don't really want to tell you who the author was. It was probably not an author you would read, but she writes contemporary women's fiction.
Okay.
I'm sitting there reading this, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the same setup, the same story as Same Time Next Year.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It was like she sat down and watched that movie and just wrote it. And all she did was change the characters, but the plot was pretty much the same. And I'm reading a book now where I'm listening to a movie and I'm reading this book and I'm thinking it's the same plot.
Oh yeah.
It's a good formula.
And that's, been going on forever, and they always say, well, there's nothing new under the sun. So you take that, a lot of the stories that you see are you can almost find parallel in the Bible. Think about it in terms of the intrigue and the this and the that and the deceit and all the other kind of stuff that's going on. It's like, wait a minute, And T.D. Jakes, for example, he did one, Women Thou Art Loose. And he took a theme that basically, is a very popular theme in terms of the church and all that. And then you start seeing it in other places as well, like you said. And what was something that came out last year that was really a ripoff, really within a year or so. And I thought, well, that's like, why would they do that? It's like the same movie, with just a different title,
Well, what you're doing is you're putting a twist on it. Like my Kindle Vella that I'm writing now. It's Thelma and Louise, but with a twist.
There you go.
It has a major twist in it, but that whole premise of two women, and I'm not going to tell you what happens, but it's very similar because that's how books and movies are made. They look at the formula and they just keep repeating that formula. The way I do it is going to be totally different than how somebody else does it. Unless you're writing a memoir, which is your own unique story, books have formulas, movies have formulas.
Absolutely. My brother actually did a workshop for us in one of the retreats where he talked about that and how once you understand the formula of whether it be a novel, a movie, whatever, sometimes it takes away a little bit from the actual enjoyment of the story because you kind of know the formula. You can always kind of guess what's going to happen. And then when there's a twist or an aha, you're like, okay, that's good, And there was something on not that long ago, Pat and I looked, we said, did we see this before? And then we concluded we hadn't seen it before, but it was such a similar, story. And then we said, this reminds me of such and such. So right to your point, that's what happens a lot of times. And if it's not broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean? Sometimes it works. It can work until it doesn't work,
True. I do think you have to put your own twist to it. I was on an Instagram and there was somebody on there who had done, it was like a little newspaper clip and it was a blurb comparing it to The Wizard of Oz. And they said, girl from small town goes to magical city, kills the first person she meets up with 3 other people, and they continue to kill people. And so if you analyze The Wizard of Oz, what does the witch do? She kills the witch, her house falls on it. So she kills the first person she meets. She ends up meeting the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion. And what do? They're off to see the wizard. They have to bring back the
slippers.
And they got to get the broom
or something.
The witch. So they're off to try to figure out how to kill the witch. So if you analyze it, that's exactly what the story was about, but it was the way they wrote it. I thought, that is so funny, but if you analyze it, that's what happened.
That's right. That's exactly right. I remember the Cowboys and Indians. I remember how that was such a formula thing. You always knew there's going to be the stagecoach robbery. There's going to be the Indians coming. There's going to be, but back in the day, who cared? That's what worked. That's what they were watching. Then when all the martial arts movies came out, and with Bruce Lee and all that kind of stuff, and then you had all those knockoffs. Listen, this guy's not no Bruce Lee, but guess what? Who cares? They're making that movie. I mean, it's amazing. Yeah, to your point, that's well said. So you don't want to plagiarize somebody's story, so you put that twist in it. Tyler Perry's doing a lot of that right now. I'm sure you don't sit down and watch Tyler Perry's Sisters and all that, but he has this, the show. And, he's always saying he's the writer, the producer, the director. I mean, he does it all, right? But you can tell the difference when Tyler Perry hires real writers and when he just calls himself writer himself. Boy, is the drop off, I mean, the endless dialogue, the childish dialogue, whatever you want to say. But does his formula work? For a lot of people, it does. He has a huge following, He has a huge following. And his characters are real kind of, sort of flimsy, if you will, but they work, they work. But he puts a lot of references to Color Purple. There's just a lot of different movies and stuff that you've seen that he uses their dialogue and their imagery, Oprah Winfrey saying, all my life I had to fight, He's used that on those how many times in some of his movies.
Yeah, he has.
Okay.
But I think too, but it makes us very boring movie watchers because Theo does not like to watch movies with me. I was like, don't ruin a movie for me. Just sit there. And he knows
Don't
what's going to happen. Yeah, I was like, I sit there, and then sometimes I literally sit and I'll take notes in a movie. I was watching, like I said, I was doing this Kindle Vella now, the Hightail Sisters. I will watch a movie, especially if I want to create a scene similar to what's created in the movie, to see how these bodies can move. Like I remember writing a scene where a man reaches over the table and grabs a woman's hand, grabs her hand and takes a knife and cuts off her little finger with it. I literally had my son, like we're over the dining room table. And I said, okay, I want you to grab me, pull me across the table and hold me. And then I'm literally like, okay, wait a minute. And I go back and I write it out. Because if it's not realistic in the book, if your characters can't really realistically do it, then you can't really realistically write it.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like literally acting out the scene. To make sure, like what I'm writing now in the Hightail Sisters, I was hey Lizelle, I was gonna kill somebody in my book, and I realized I can't kill him yet. Because if I kill him yet, she's not gonna be able to get to the diner because her clothes are gonna be bloody. I can't kill him yet. Because I had to think about, like, you can't stab somebody and not have any blood on them.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
I should say, let me put a disclaimer. Can anybody turning in right now? I'm talking about a book. I'm really not going to kill anybody.
Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You know that. Lizelle, welcome. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? How is everybody?
Doing good as well. Doing good as well. Okay. I'm glad you joined us. Hope you're going to read something tonight. Ro just read something, and I hope she'll read again for us. Before we do, though, I'm going to ask Brother Chris, were you able to pull up any of the episodes from the program on Sunday, the storytelling piece that we did, Chris? It was taped by Nicole Wilkerson. It's kind of far off, but I think it's doable. Let's see if we can grab a piece from that.
Thank you so much. This has absolutely been wonderful, wonderful. And I want to thank everyone for sharing. So as I was sitting there prior to hearing your testimony, I said that I changed my mind with the poem that I wanted to read. And your testimony was a confirmation that we all have a story. We all have a testimony. And so, and it started with the wonderful singing, and so of course I cannot, so I will not try, but when you started to sing This Little Light of Mine, that's what made me think about it. So my name is Wendy Washington Nochirione. I am a poet and author and a storyteller. I believe each of us were sent here to tell our story. Each of us have a story to tell, and the Bible tells us that we are to let our light so shine before man that he would see our good works but glorify our Father in heaven. And so that's what I'd like to do. So this is an original piece, and it's called This Little Light of Mine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to hide it under a basket of refuge for all I hold dear. This light is my dreams, my creativity, my pain, my losses, my love returned and unreciprocated. It's my anger spent and caged. It's my hope, my fears, my faith, my hopeless faith and my fearful hopes. This light is my anxieties, my fear of rejection and of being misunderstood. The basket? Well, the basket is a smile that says all is well. It's a convincing cover of confidence when I'm not too sure myself. The basket is where I go when my trust has been breached. It's a barrier that protects me from heartaches and disappointments and coincidentally hinders me from true love and doubt-free relationships. My basket is the always durable, carefree and witty, nonchalant, outspoken and speaking out, ride or die outer shell that you see. It's the sometimes shy and often quite sensitive frontage that peeks out without my permission. My basket is simplistically complex and confusingly cumbersome. The more I hide beneath my basket, the more my light transforms and adjusts. The heavier my basket gets and the harder it is to maintain.
Brother Chris, we can stop it right there.
One time I loved so hard this little light of mine. It was
Good. That's just a sample of, that's a beautiful piece you wrote. It's a long piece, but that's just a sample of Wendy during the presentation there. Very, very good stuff. But anyhow, yeah, so again, thank you all. But again, I want to thank everybody from Wendy to Dr. Felicia Brown Hayward, to Cheryl Hawkins, to Carmen Henry Harris, to everybody who got up and read and performed and did their things. I didn't mention Ramona French. She was a storyteller with the drummers, the Studio Solomon drummers. And she did a great job of doing two children's stories. And one was originally written by, her name is Karen Wysocki. She goes by Lee Wysocki. And then another piece was a book that she actually had that she read out of that. And so, yeah, it was just good stuff. Great stuff, great stuff. So anyhow, having said all that, let's get into a little reading tonight. And Lazille, since you've come on, I'm going to ask if you'll read a piece for us and tell us what's going on up in your area, neck of the woods, and then also go back to Ro. And, Ro, you were working on your poetry book too, weren't you? Did you finish the second one?
Yeah, I'm actually, when I get back to Harrisburg, I have a cover artist who's going to do an original cover for me. So I can't wait to start working on that.
Fantastic, great. Well, we're going to hear from you. I'm going to hear from Lazille first, though. Lazille, what's going on with yourself? How's everything?
Everything is good. Good so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I know you had that award that you showed us last week. Was that Texas? You were down in the
Yeah.
Good stuff. That's great stuff. So keep it up. Anything else going on we need to know about?
Just today was supposed to be well, life is so funny. I went to there's a Black museum here in Hempstead, and I went to it to show some of my artwork and maybe, get to do poetry and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, I had a portfolio and I dropped it off. So the lady named is Cheryl. She said, okay, well, we'll give you a call when there's events and whatnot. So I wasn't hearing anything. So I went back and I checked on it and I met Cheryl and she said, oh, I gave your portfolio to the director of the museum. That's the same guy who I'm helping write in a script. So he wants to have some things doing, and he wants to change the whole museum around, like remove some artwork and put up more artists and stuff. So during that time, he said that he had something coming up, which was today. So they having the what they call it again? I think it's in recognition of those Black hip hop artists like Sugar
Okay, nice.
Gang and
Yeah.
all those. So they're having that
Oh,
tonight.
beautiful.
I was
Okay.
supposed to be a part of it, but we had so much rain.
Mhm.
So I said, you know what? And then I commute, so it would have been kind of hard to,
Yeah.
you know, with the rain and stuff. So I said, you know what? I might as well forget it. I'll just text him
Good.
and to find out how it was. And they had some oyster festival this week. Yeah, I don't eat oyster. I don't like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And he's supposed to have something in his museum later on in the month, so I'll be a part of that.
That's fantastic. Wonderful, wonderful. Let me say real quickly, Dan Snowden, I understand, is joining us. Dan, how you doing?
Fine, thanks. How about yourself?
Very good, very good. I'm glad you joined us. So the Zell's getting ready to do a piece for us tonight. And go ahead, Lizelle, if you want to read something for us.
Okay. I just finished this one. I just wrote this one tonight. It's called Crowded Bus of Bad Onions, the replica of a slave ship.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. Something that happened to me this week. I think it's either Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
So, all right, let me just kind of give it, sorry, I just need to just give it, okay. Crowded bus of bad onions, which is the replica of a slave ship. Tired and waiting in line for the bus. As soon as the bus arrived, one by one, we walked in like shackles on our feet. Then suddenly, a strong stench of bad onions, more like rotten onions to the core. They can't even be used for preservatives, not even to cure bad asthma. I saw a passenger's face as she turned her head. Her eyes met her nose bridge, and her face was like a balloon. The stench was real, as her face looked like she was in a what do you call it? Asphyxiation state. Sorry about it. Her eyes bulged. The only thing now was her head to blow off. I had to laugh, but stifle my laugh. The bus smelled so bad. Somebody's armpit was raw. The bus was crowded, and imagine smelling that stench for miles. I had to go to my book because I didn't get to finish typing it out. Some people's armpit was up like monkeys swinging on a vine to a meal, hustling to a meal of bananas. I had to sink my head into my coat so that those onions wouldn't make me cry. Whenever the bus jerked, everyone standing swayed left or right, their nose connecting to those bad onions. Gotta hold on tight. The only thing missing is ooh, ah, ah, like monkeys. At one point of time, my armpit was next to someone's head. But I'm not a bad onion. No way. Just imagine that ship with all those slaves. That was onions served raw with loads and loads of manure. But their story was real on that ship. The stench from human privates mixed with raw onions. What if the bus was the ship on wheels? My Lord, just imagine what a menu. Don't think that would be buffet style. Not even grab a plate and go. We can stand the stench of onion. We can't stand the stench of onions for far less for those slaves that had to abide. Which one will you choose? That's it.
Wow. Interesting. Thank you. And like you said, and that really did happen, huh?
It really did happen. The bus and everybody's arms was up in the air holding on to the bars. So, you know, the somebody armpit was really bad.
Unbelievable.
So the lady who was in front, of me, she turned around like this, and she was like, so she was trying to hold her breath. Her eyes went coky. So, it was I met her nose. So it was really, really funny. But that said, to stay in that bus was really, really funny. So I just thought about it and I said, let me just write this piece on it. I still had to work on it, but I just kind of like write it, did a draft of what took place.
Good stuff. Good stuff. That's the thing. Like you said, you can be observational or just take real life. I appreciate that. Thank you. Can we go to Ro? And Ro, if you want to share something, and then Dan, do you want to share something tonight, Dan?
Sure.
Okay, wonderful. So Ro Bradley, if you can come and give us a piece, then we'll come to Dr. Dan.
Sure. This is one I told you, the article I just wrote for the resources for the homeless. But this one is, I went to the local library that's not too far from our apartment, and there was a lady there who kind of uses the library as sort of her, her little place where she stays for maybe an hour or so. So this is called Familiar Spaces. Nails bitten back to the quick on brown hands that nervously look for tiny pieces of rest found in familiar community spaces. Spaces filled with voices telling babies to hush, talking lowly of work done for small time pay, sitting amongst books neatly stacked on story shelves, waiting for readers to come. She stopped by with all her belongings, resting in grocery store bags, speaking to unseen visitors, thinking about the meals that she had and the pillow where her head once rested for sweet dreams to come. Now the sidewalk welcomes her to its uncomforting spaces. The unhome ramble, not freely, but paying the price that no paycheck can cover. I sit behind the glass windows, looking out with full eyes at all that she's lost or never had to hold, wondering, resting at the back of my unswallowed tears, the nails bitten down to the quick on brown hands that find no rest in community spaces.
Find no rest in community spaces. Beautiful line. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Wow. Tell us a little bit about that piece.
It was a day where I decided that I was going to explore the neighborhood, and I found the little local library. It kind of reminds you of the library over in Klein Plaza. So I went there and I just decided I wasn't gonna take out a book. I was just gonna sit there and watch people watch. Well, I get there and I'm there when the library opened. So I go in, and the gentleman that opened the door for me, he was the person at the desk also. So I'm sitting there, and behind the bookshelf, and it sounded more like a counseling session that was going on. There was a mother and a counselor, and they were talking about diagnosis of a child. And I'm sitting there going like she was trying to enter her child in some type of programming. So that's where I was talking about, like sitting beside these stacked shelves and, thinking about, she made the comment was she could not afford daycare because her child was having so many problems that they had asked her to withdraw him, and she could not find another reasonable daycare center. So I picked up on that. So I'm writing that. And then I look over, there's a lady coming in the library, and there's a glass window. She parks her grocery cart with all her belongings beside the library. And she has a little bag. She takes the bag out, and I'm noticing that it's either a pair of scissors or like a little switchblade knife. She takes that and puts it over her shoulder and comes into the library, and she has her cell phone. So she plugs in her cell phone and she's sitting there, and the guy who let me in, there's two police officers that come. And the two police officers asked him, how long has she been in here? And he said, she's fine. She comes in every day. She charges her phone and she sits and she looks at a magazine and then she's gone. He says, it's okay. Don't worry about her. I'm not going to let her stay for long. And I started to think about, this is a familiar space for her. She's been coming every day, and I looked at, she was sitting there like biting her nails, like, is he going to make me leave? Because I have nowhere else to go. She wasn't saying that. But when I got ready to get up and leave, because I'm a nosy person and this is how I get stories, I just kind of lingered in that space, listening to that conversation. Sitting there with her cell phone plugged in, all of her belongings that she brought into the library beside her, and she's sitting there biting her nails.
Yeah.
An observation of someone who, but she was so nervous that they were going to make her leave.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something, that whole reality. I was talking a couple of weeks ago about a family that came to one of our poetry, what's it called, poetry and pastry event. And she had been to our family programs before, and she has a number of children. I mean, it's like 10 or 11 children, and she's relatively young. And so, my daughter-in-law said that I actually went to school with her. I know her, said, and I offered to give her a ride, back. I don't know. She only had like maybe 3 or 4 of her kids with her. And she said, okay. And they got the ride, but she said, just drop us off over there at the laundromat. And she said, oh, okay, you're going to laundromat. And she said, they didn't have anything in their hands like blind. She said, oh, you left your clothes in there? She said, no, girl. She said, right now we're homeless. We just stay in the laundromat. We just don't want to get kicked out, though. So we kind of, play it and we, kind of circle around and act like we're doing stuff. She said, but this is where this is where we crash tonight. And so it's like, what, And so my daughter-in-law was trying to figure out how to help them and this and that, but there's so many of them, and and it's like, wow, she really needs some real help. But yeah, that reality of staying someplace thinking, let me sleep with one eye open, because you never know if the cops will come in or if the manager or
And
whoever.
that's what she spent her afternoon, and that's where she charged. Probably the only thing she maybe had paid it for the rest of the month. I don't know, but her cell phone, and she's trying to keep it charged. It's her only form of communication at that point.
That's it right there, and that's amazing that she even has that. We do family programs, and last night we were talking to a lady, and she literally said to us, everything that I own is in my car right now. She's had to get rid of all the other stuff because I couldn't, I had nowhere to take it. I had no money or anything like that. She said, the only thing I have going for me right now is my car. She said, and so I'm trying to keep that going. And I mean, that's everything to her. That's a house, or, the whole 9 yards. It's just amazing what people have to do, amazing. So Dan Snowden, thank you, Ro. Thank you, Lizelle, both of you for your readings. Dan, give us something tonight, buddy.
Oh, sure.
Thanks for coming out on Sunday too, by the way.
Huh? Oh yeah. I was glad to be there. I was glad to share with the group that attended.
Okay, very good.
And now here's one that's this piece is actually a companion piece to an earlier one, but I'll just call it, this one's Transition to Improvement. When I left my previous venture, my feelings were pretty much at low tide. It appeared as though the situation would serve as an eternal lost ride. Yet, with my ever-enduring patience, a breakthrough I was able to see, the times for new adventures were at hand as I make my life the way it should be. So bidding goodbye to the old order, I made my way towards some sound transition. Beforehand, I needed to clarify my feelings in the former position. Those in charge were inexcusably blind concerning all I had to offer the state. Thus, I was left to absorb all kudos from all appreciating me to date. I now continue my association with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Although the new game now involves mining, I still follow the recycling mania. The present work is completely rewarding, evoking appreciative sentiments. In fact, nary a day passes at all where I'm not paid copious compliments. As for the old recycling position, it was downgraded significantly. To say that it is no longer the same would be putting it rather succinctly. In any case, I can certainly say my life has changed with a lot of new looks, It is my pleasure to say I'm no longer unappreciated and overlooked. The point of this life-changing transition is to send a message to the old boss. If you can't appreciate the good what one does, in time it will turn into your own loss.
Yeah, that's right. Good rhyme scheme, good stuff. Where'd that come from? What made you write that?
Nice.
Oh, that was that was when I transitioned from working with PennDOT and running its recycling program to coming into the DEP's Bureau of Mining programs, where I am now. I wrote that a while back, I guess around 2014 or 2015. I mean, but I'd made the transition before that, and that piece is a companion piece to the earlier one called Unappreciated and Overlooked.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Doc. Appreciate
Certainly.
that. Real quick, I know that I think all three of you may have received. I've seen one of the videos that Brother Chris, produced for me. The the videos that have some of my poetry and has. Give me some feedback on those real quick. What did you think of them, if you remember any of them? If you, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the titles myself. One was "How Dare You Be So Strong." What was the other one, Brother Chris? You did about 5 or 6 of them for me.
You did Harrisburg, Dance African Man Dance.
There you go. Yes.
I was going to say that's my favorite one is Dance African Man Dance because I think it interjects and it shows us this other culture.
Okay, appreciate that. Okay,
Like
real
that.
good. Yeah, and they shows he has the African kids dancing. I like that a lot too. Yeah. Cool. Lizelle, do you remember anyone?
Was it something that you recited or?
Yeah, I did the poetry, but it was a video. And Brother Chris put the
Oh, yes, I remember. Yeah.
Okay.
To me, I like all of it.
Okay.
I like all of it. You were saying the poem and they were showing different pictures and different, ethnic groups and stuff. Yeah, I find it was nice. I like everything.
Okay. Dr. Dan, did you have any thoughts?
Oh yes, the first one you mentioned, Black Woman, How Dare You Be So Strong. I was kind of partial to that one.
Okay, very good. Appreciate you. So what I was thinking of, that's something we kind of got away from. I do want to talk to Chris again about, doing more of those and even, looking at, some things here. And also on Friday night, tell me if I'm wrong, Chris, on Friday night, the movement's a little bit out of sync only because of the equipment that you're using. But in the other time, if it was done during the week, I guess, or something like that in the studio, it comes out a little bit differently.
Yeah, well, actually, we've actually upgraded our home internet, so it should be fine now from home or from the studio. We switched to Fios from Xfinity, so Fios has been a lot better versus having a maximum of 10 or 12 devices. You can have unlimited devices using Fios.
Can you do the Dance African Men Dance piece for us tonight? I just want to relook at that, and I'm not going to do all, but just that one piece. We can do that, and then like I said, I want to get back to that and do more of those. I enjoyed it myself, and I don't know what to do. We just got to take it to something. But I want to put those out a little bit more in the cosmos, and also come with some more concepts and different things. So it forced me to write more too, by the way. But if you could bring one of those up, I'd appreciate it. But in the meantime, don't forget, folks, we had this wonderful contest coming up. We're looking for students, middle school students, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, middle school students. We're going to have a program at the forum where they have to submit their works, and they can send it to me at P as in Pat Gadsden, GADSDEN @AOL.com. And be more than happy to look it over. We're going to have a team of people. The deadline to submit is November the 3rd, which is a Friday, 2 weeks from today. And so they have time to write on the theme, the good that I see in my community. And we're going to be flooding the airwaves in the next couple of days here. You're going to see emails and, stuff on Facebook and everything. It's already on Facebook, but we're going to really be pushing it. And I'm going specifically to the schools. I talked to the Val Muhammad today at Nativity School. He's going to take it up as a project. We already talked to students at the principal and assistant principal at Camp Curtin Academy, and that's also a middle school. They're going to take it up as a project. Talked to Jason Moffett, who's over at Milton Hershey School, about this project, and he said definitely. And Jason is a fine poet, and he's a teacher, and also now he's assistant principal of this school, and so he's a high school, so he's definitely pushing it. And I got to get to John Harris and Stilton and Middletown and everyone in Dauphin, anyone in Dauphin County can be a part of this. So if you're interested and you want more information, you can always give me a call at 717-608-2312, 717-608-2312. On November the 9th, we will be at the forum, and we're going to take the top 10, writings, the top 10 poems from middle school and the top 10 from high school, and invite those young people to come and read their works and participate in a cash prize of $500, $250, and $100 at each level, middle school and then also high school. This is a program of the Police Athletic League with Dr. Charles Stewart in collaboration with the Writers Wordshop. And I really want to see some real submissions coming in. We have the Young Women's Empowerment Forum there submitting some, the True group, which comes on the first Friday of every month here at the Writers Workshop. They already had 2 young people that wrote pieces. And then also we have a group called the ARC, Alternative Rehabilitation Communities, a bunch of young men. They're going to be writing, and also SciTech. I'm going to get SciTech on board with this as well. So, don't miss out. Submit your poetry, your spoken word, and, let's have some fun with this. And let's get some young people. Every person that submits a poem will receive a certificate from the Writers Workshop and the PAL and of participation. And then we'll give out those cash prizes as well. So, and I want to thank again James Lowes for supporting our program that we're going to have next Saturday. It is in fact, let me mention 2 things. One, we're doing our graduation of our Life Esteem Chaplains program, where we train volunteer chaplains to go into the hospitals of UPMC. And that graduation is going to take place next Saturday, starting at 10 o'clock. And then at 2 o'clock, we will have our Trunk or Treat event, sponsored by the Writers Workshop and Life Esteem Incorporated, and supported by Youth 10 Times Better and all the other agencies that are going to come out and give away candy and other goodies during the Trunk or Treat. I know D&D Journey is going to be there, and so many other organizations will be there to pass out, goodies. And James Lowes, I got to tell you, this brother hooked us up with some serious candy, and not just for us, but for a lot of organizations here in the area. And he just has done a marvelous job in a lot of different ways. So anyhow, that's the brother also who gives out free bicycles throughout the year. I mean, a lot of bicycles, and been doing it for years. And also he sponsored a lot of kids going to the Universal Soul Circus over the years. And also he supports the local food pantries. He gives out food to schools and stuff like that. Dude just does it right. So anyhow, hats off to him. Don't forget, also coming up in December, we're going to have 2 events, and that'll be the Kwanzaa Festival, which is on December the 9th is what we're targeting. And we hope that all of you who are hearing this will, hopefully come and be a part of it. And it's one of our largest events. It's probably our largest event. And then also on December the 17th, that's December the 9th, and December the 17th, we're bringing in an outstanding artist who is, just taken off. She, has her doctorate degree and all that, but her artwork is selling off the chart. She's, selling her work for, like $10,000 a pop and more. And she's really, really good at what she does. So anyhow, we're going to be honoring 5 outstanding artistic women of the Harrisburg area, and then also bringing on a sister who comes out of Virginia, and her father happens to be a good friend of ours here in Harrisburg. He's a great guy, Reverend Irving Smalls. His daughter is really distinguished herself throughout the country, so she'll be coming. And they've been working hard on that presentation, and we'll have a flyer up about that hopefully next week. She already showed me a prototype of what she does. So anyhow, it's real good stuff. So a lot of things coming up. Don't forget also November the 4th. November the 4th. Yes.
I was going to say real quick,
sorry.
another school that might really embrace the poetry contest is St. Stephen's.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm trying to hit all the schools, private schools, public schools, as well as the, what do you call them? The, what do they call it? Not private, what's the other ones? The ones that's kind of controversial. What do they call those schools?
I just say that because I know when I was there, they were really looking to bring more of the arts into their school.
Well,
And
now, what's the grades though? What's the grade for those?
they have middle school. Yeah.
They do.
Middle
Wonderful.
school.
Good.
Yeah.
The charter
Uh-huh.
schools. That's what I couldn't think of. The charter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Michelle Lucas is the head of schools and she's very, very receptive to
Okay.
outside programs. So
Excellent. I'll get her name from you again, Michelle Lucas. Okay.
she's the head
And
of
you also made me think about the other charter school that's over there by the farm show. They're huge now. They're really big. I forget what they call themselves, but I mean, they've just taken off. And so I'll get to them. Madison Stokes, in fact, graduated from that particular school, and she won our science medicine for AXO on the national level. And so they're producing some serious young people over there. So anyhow, yeah, I'll get to all of them. Thank you for mentioning that. And by the way, the theme is such a good theme. We're trying to be positive, the good that I see in my community. Come on now. I like that theme. Let's talk about something good. Got all this other stuff going on. By the way, real quick, so before we get back to the readings, keep in prayer all these people who are experiencing war. It's easy for us to sit here, we're on Zoom and we're talking poetry. There are people being bombed all over the world, being attacked, sneak attack, and all kinds of stuff. We know about Ukraine, we know about, Israel and Gaza, but that's not just happening just in those two places. People fleeing from South America for a reason. And people are coming out of, war-torn countries in Africa and all throughout China and every place else in the world. There's a lot of stuff going on, folks. So keep people in prayer. And one thing we can, when we know about things, we can write about peace and write about, conflict and how to stop conflict. So writers, I'm just going to say unite and write and use your voice and your pen and your typewriter or whatever to be heard. Okay. Let's go back to the readings. Lazille, if you can do another reading for us, and then we'll do the round robin once again with Ro, and then also Brother Dr. Dan, and then hopefully maybe Chris can pull up that video for us of my, dance, African man dance. I'd appreciate that. Lazille?
Okay. This one is another one I wrote tonight, but I didn't get a chance to type it up. It's called One-Way Ticket. Once time is gone, it's not coming back. It's a one-way ticket to life. Just like that, still a one-way ticket. Gotta live and grow, just a one-way ticket. Age keeps going up, not stopping till death. Life is what we make it. It's not short, it's not a shortcut, no back roads. Run if you can, but make sure you get there. Don't walk, don't sit back. Make your mark. Be dream achievers of boldness. Educate, instigate, don't hesitate, just navigate. Once that ticket is used, think back into something good. Move like lightning bolt. Be recharged. Energize your youth to plug in. Stick to the plan. Be grand. Remember, it is a one-way ticket. Don't be like sinking sand. That's it.
All right. Nice. Beautiful. Like sinking sand. Remember that song, On Solid Rock I Stand. I like that. Beautiful. Thank you. Bro?
I have one called Tightrope. Again, it was a Washington, D.C. observation on the streets. I spent the day stealing sideway glances at the folks that live their lives on tight ropes, putting their fragile steps in front of them on cracked sidewalks of pain and distress. There was the blind man in McDonald's who had the spirit to share his fries, sitting across from the vigilant young brother who never had a problem with the white police officer. He told his story about how his mama said it didn't have to be this way. It was just his opinion about why the young sisters didn't see the lines he was laying down as real. They came in a group of 5, stealing looks at the pretty young thing that didn't pay them no mind because her mind was on the baby she wanted to leave at home with her old man that told her to hush and hustle. Hustling was his middle name. He'd learned to hustle money out of other people's pockets since the day he saw poor and refused to be broke. Broken-minded and stone-cold crazy is what they said she was. She sat down and spoke to the invisible voices that dotted in and out of her head. He had a head for stretching money. He counted out the last few dollars that couldn't buy happy, let alone a meal. They had come and bound together, hoping the business deal would be sealed, but instead, things fell apart and they left with empty pockets and playing money on the table. She was a Black woman who was tired of being described as strong. She pulled full body and bold up to all the possibilities. When they told her to step away from the table, she left them holding the empty hand and a full house of microaggressions and backward compliments that she refused to accept. He looked down at his legs and refused to accept that they didn't work, and neither did he. The bullet of the gangbanger stopped him dead cold. Round and round we go, and down we go, balancing on the tight rope.
Very good. Good imagery always. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Brother Dr. Dan Snowden.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll do one of 2, this is the first of 2 poems that dealt with the matter of COVID-19. This is the first one here is titled My Story on Coping with the COVID-19 Crisis. For a number of months, we've had to cope with a matter of utmost importance. COVID-19, the coronavirus, unexpected and more than a nuisance. This highly transmissible contagion has turned most of planet Earth upside down, such that many precautions are needed for both travel, both far away and in town. In March, COVID-19 entered my realm by way of an OSM training class. This event ended on an early note when word of the virus came forth en masse. Since then, working from home had been the norm, doing my part as a state employee in assisting 2 advisory boards and 6 mining offices I see. Setting up board meetings per Skype options, the process begins with document reviews. Here, all paperwork is electronic, a concept that really isn't so new. The meeting arrangement remains the same during the era of COVID-19. Those far away can join from remote links, so as to be part of the on-site scene. I do similar tasks with the districts when it comes to addressing funding needs, from reclaiming or reforesting mine lands to culling AMD's polluting deeds. While COVID-19 kept me homebound, I found an escape to a sound avenue by building several monster kits, both revamped types and those purchased anew. Just recently, I was surprised to learn that due to the COVID-19 matter, all state workers must keep teleworking for the rest of the year altogether. Yep, and that one was written back in 2020, actually, when COVID-19 first came onto the scene.
Okay. Appreciate you. Thank you, Dan.
Certainly.
Appreciate that. Brother Chris, I don't know if you were able to pull up the video at all. All right.
African man, don't you feel like dancing? Don't you feel the rhythm and the beat of the earth and the hand of God pressing on your lower back? Can't you feel the pulse pounding, thump, 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 beat, 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 beating of nature rising up within you? Look at your arms move. Like swans flying in the wind they move. See how long they are. Long like something is pulling them, unable to break them, stretching them all the way back home. And your legs are bent and shaking, and your feet are quick and darting, and your eyes are closed too tight for the light that blinds you, the light that lies to you, the light that stopped you from moving like this. You are free, African man. This is the hope of your people, the pride of your ancestors. Those who are crowding you, pushing and pulling you, those who call to you, dance. They scream at you, dance, they say. And you are locked up in this movement, this strange, unexplainable vibration that reaches through your heart, touching your soul, and you feel it. Oh, don't you feel it? Don't you feel it? After all of those dark and dreary years, after all of those names you were called that ate at your spirit, after all of the fake, marginal, animal images that you were branded with and lived with, after all that was said and done to you, and still you are standing. And you are still stronger than the evil that haunted you. And you see yourself for the first time again as a man, created with the ageless hands of God. And again, you are accepting that God is greater than those who chopped you down and took away your movement. And you see the forest for the first time again. And it is not the garden that you danced in. You hear the voice of the family that has called you man without wavering. All these years, they have accepted you, even when you were unable to move freely like your God intended in the beginning. This is the time, African man. Don't you feel it? Oh, don't you feel it? You are free to move like you were created to move and supposed to move. You are free to dance before God without shame. Don't you want to dance? Let's do the home dance, the dance that we do when our family is whole, caring, loving, forgiving, and protecting one another. Let's do the sun dance, the dance that we do with our father and mother as they lift us off the floor and we hold them with arms of respect so they won't fall. Let's do the Christ dance, the dance that we do for others when others cannot dance for themselves. Let's do the warrior dance, the dance that we do when our community is threatened by those who don't like our dance and those who don't want us to dance at all. Let's dance, African man. I know you want to dance. Close your eyes and dance. Close your eyes and see the presence of God within you. Bend your legs so you can't ever be pushed over again. Move your feet as fast as the African drum talks. Sway to the rhythm and let your arms float to the beat of your soul. Reclaim yourself. Dance, African man. Dance, African man. It's our time. It's our song. Let's make the music that will never stop. Let's make the music that will never, ever stop. Let's do the dance that God gave us. Let's never, ever again stop doing the dance that God gave us. Let's teach our children how to dance our God-given dance, and they will know Jesus through us. Let's show our women that we have reclaimed our dance, and they will thank God for our return. Let's dance in our streets, through our streets, and around our streets, doing the dance that men do when they are working and building and leading without fear of anyone except God. And when we dance, when we let it all go and get loose and be free, the world will watch us and marvel at us and try their best to be like us. And they will see for the first time again, the first man, the African man, the man that dances for the Father again. And they who sought to destroy us will try to honor us, still trying to get a hold of us. But we won't let them interrupt our dance, because we will dance for our Father who created our dance. And through God's covenant and our determination, I'm telling you, my brothers, I'm telling you, this dance will never end. If we believe it and receive it, if we believe it and receive it, we can dance. Oh, African man, let's dance.
Good piece, Chris. You really put some nice images up there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, what time do we have here? It is, okay. Well, 1 minute to go and we are out, but I hope that everyone will come back next Friday. And you know, again, don't forget that Ro is now doing some editing, so y'all support Ro. And you know, if you got a novel or something work that you're working on and you need a good eye, she got it. And Dr. Dan, thank you for coming on. Sister Dazille, thank you for doing what you're doing. Best with your you know, your exhibit next month. And we gotta try to get you back down here. Maybe for Kwanzaa or something, back to the Berg.
Yeah, I want to come for that. Now I wanted to ask you, when is the art, you bring art and stuff?
Yeah, yes. That's
Yeah.
what you bring. Yeah, just be a vendor. You can be a vendor.
Okay.
You can also do poetry and all that, you know. We'll figure it all out. Yes, indeed. But I hope to have Ro in the house, hope to have Dan in the house, and everybody that's watching. Hope that you'll be there. Brother Chris, thanks again for hosting us tonight. And folks, we'll see you next time here on the Writer's Wordshop. Everybody have a good night now.
You
Okay.
too,
Good night.
everybody.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.